What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Game Day Squad Football Round 5 preview show, brought to you by the Game Day Society. But I'm joined by a lot of other big names on the show today. You might have noticed that Zonald is serving a 1 week suspension after having Stash as his number one player last week. So we've got him out, got some real advice in for everyone else now. So I'm joined by Roscoe and Bales. How you going, boys?
Yeah, very good. Excited to be on the show, and should be a challenging but very exciting weekend of football ahead. So there's going to be some good discussion, I'm sure, about our teams and who we think is going to be the optimal options. What about you, Bales?
Yeah, good boys. Yeah, Mark, it's not been too long since we did a show together, and just been a couple of days. But no, different one. Talk about some Game Day Squad football. So looking forward to chatting about that, and finally good to meet you, Roscoe.
Yeah, of course, 100%.
Yeah, and for those who don't follow along, Bales and I do the AFLW show together. Bales is obviously from AFL Fantasy Fanatics, and we've got Roscoe from Third Man Up. So if you haven't already, I'm sure you guys probably have, but if you're in the fantasy space, you're probably already following these guys. But if not, jump onto all of their accounts and follow. So first of all, how are your teams going? We're round 5, so we're starting to kind of get a feel for how the Game Day Squad scoring system's working. Any big results in the last few weeks? Any cash coming in?
No, I had $5 come into my account this week for a sixth placing classic, so that was good. Thought I built a pretty decent squad, but I think Kirk has probably killed me going any higher with his 0. But other than that, that's been the main focus, and staying out of the chop zone in the Guillotine League as well, for those who know, on the Game Day Squad Discord. So I think Classic will be my main focus again this week. Hopefully we can get it right. And 6th again would be very nice for the season-long leaderboard too. So, Bales, what about you?
Yeah, last couple of weeks have been a little bit lean in terms of sort of good finishes or anything like that. But coming off of in round 2 or game week 2 came equal first in Classic. It was 231 points apiece with me and the Circus crew, but Tom sent me a screenshot. It was like 0.3 points or something like that separated us. So I ended up getting second just.
Stiff.
I thought that was a bit stiff, but no, it was a good week. And we're Classic currently sitting at 14th for the season. So still not too, 109 points away, which in EPL is probably a little bit sort of further than if you look at the Aussie rules or the AFLW, you're probably like 100 points is what could be made up in a week, right? Whereas 100 points probably going to take a couple of weeks to try and claw back, but still in the mix, and got some bought a couple of big stars on the transfer market to hopefully boost me up into the top 10.
All I'm hearing, Bales, is you're going to start to need to play some pods to get back up there, and that excites me a lot. So, what we'll do is I think we just jump straight into the round coming up. It feels like, I guess, in my head, because there's so many different sports on the Game Day Squad platform at the moment, there's not much like brain cells in my brain to kind of pay attention to all this. So as soon as I focus on my basketball side, I forget all the football stuff. So it'll be nice to kind of have a bit of a refresher and another opinion that's not just Zonald, because obviously Zonald's great, but he's I feel like he's leading me astray sometimes. So let's jump into the first game, which is a big one. And it's in a good time slot at 9:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Liverpool Everton derby. How many players are you playing out of this?
Well, I think that the main one here for me, I think, is obviously Mohamed Salah, right? He's the main one, and he looked better midweek in the Champions League. There's obviously, I think the thing that be interesting to get you boys' thoughts, but he's been like in terms of expected goals and all the sort of stats that he had this time last year. He was obviously out of the blocks. He was heaps and heaps of goals, heaps of assists, heaps of points, everything like that. Whereas this year it's been a bit more lean. I think he's had 2 goals and 1 assist. One of those goals has been a very late penalty last week. hasn't quite been the same form. But do you guys think that maybe midweek, the fact that Isaac's maybe starting to integrate in, Ekatike, Verts have had a few weeks, do you reckon that maybe Salah's now going to start sort of kicking on with some better scoring? Or do you think this is a bit of like this is going to be Salah? He's not going to be as good as what he was last year, but he's just going to be a decent asset.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's an interesting one, definitely. Part of the reason why I've got him in my lineup this week, I think it can actually be very difficult to make up a score if you don't have him in a game where he could potentially haul. Like, obviously, he does, pop up and be very prolific with a goal or assist in most games. But, Merseyside derby, although it is a tough game and they're usually low scoring, if he's the one that sort of pops up, breaks the game open with a goal and an assist, it's going to lead to a decent score. And I sort of worry about those who leave him out. I mean, obviously, if you leave him out and he doesn't do anything, then you're well ahead of the pack. But I think we just perhaps have to play him. I just think he might be essential, maybe even regardless of matchup, although his league form doesn't necessarily suggest that so far.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's probably important to kind of reflect on is that last season was a record-breaking season. So even though he's not living up to those numbers, he's still 3 score involvements or 3 attacking contributions in 5 games. It's not bad. He's still up there with one of the top forward scorers. So he might not be as essential as he was last year for me, but I think he's still definitely one of the first people I'm considering each week. What about Isaac? Obviously, he's integrating back into the side. If you see him on that team sheet, because obviously we have access to the lineups for the first game before lockout, does it tempt you at all to bring him in if he's named?
I don't know. I think either way, he'll still probably only get 55 to 60 minutes as we saw midweek. So maybe not for me. I think I'd rather have my 4 forwards try and play the full 90. I mean, you can't predict it, but it does make it tempting. I think I'd need to actually find a high variant of him as well for Classic. I think I've only got bronzes at the minute.
Yeah, okay. Bales?
Yeah, I'm on the same. Yeah, I think if Isaac's not going to start, he's going to come on and the forwards I've got at the moment, they're the nailed on ones that you think are going to play at least sort of 60, 70 minutes, and more likely than you're hoping they'll play 90. So I currently don't, but I did happen to pack a diamond Isaac right before the season started, and I was on with Tom and we're opening some packs, and then I was like, oh, okay, well, he's not playing at the moment, so who knows where he's going to go, but now he's at Liverpool, it's a bit more valuable. So I've put it in Challenger, so I'm hoping that he starts or comes on and maybe does something, but yeah, not for me this week.
Yeah, it kind of feels like with all the build-up for him that in a derby, even if he comes on for 20 minutes, he could get a hat-trick or something ridiculous in the last, 10 minutes, get some winners. Now, another big Liverpool name, obviously, Virgil van Dijk. Does he just sit in as a lock every week, given his kind of defensive contributions, regardless of score, or any temptation to drop him?
No, I have Van Dijk in this week. I know that these numbers here suggest that both teams are quite stringent and strict against, positional average. But I think Van Dijk, obviously, with his contributions, I think it will be a low-scoring game. 7 of the last 10 matchups, I mean, we're going back a few years, between these teams has resulted in at least one side or both getting a clean sheet. So, if either team can keep a clean sheet, the defenders that obviously play in that team and the keeper, be risky to start them, but it could be a gamble that pays off.
Yeah, he's in for me as well. I've actually got double Liverpool in defence this week, just because I feel like a lot of the big defenders have got some, particularly we'll get to obviously the big game of the week, but we've got a couple of big teams that are playing against each other, and I didn't see a huge amount of teams where I'm like, yeah, there's a clean sheet there. So I thought, well, Liverpool at home, probably backing them in to at least get a clean sheet. But obviously, as you say, Van Dijk's got the defensive contributions and all that sort of access to scoring. And then even a Kirkes, I know Kirkes last week, people like myself included, and Roscoe, you said Kirkes as well, not doing too great for you last week. I think he's still a good asset. I think he's got the ability to get an assist or something like that, and obviously get the clean sheet and defensive contributions as well. So I think that a couple of Liverpool defenders could be a play this week.
Yeah. Now jumping over to Everton, Grealish has been probably one of the best midfield option. In fact, he might be up there with the highest averaging midfielder. I can't remember the stats exactly, but he's doing great with the new side. Liverpool line up a little bit more tricky. I'm thinking they might get a clean sheet, which means that, not those assists coming through. Is there any value in picking Grealish this week, do you think?
I liked him, but now I think I like other options more. As we get through the other games, I'll try and point them out. So I had him or Dewsbury Hall in there, but now I think I'm going to look elsewhere.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I'm the same as well. I think I've had him in for a number of weeks, but yeah, I think this week just against Liverpool, just probably a little bit tricky, and probably don't want to sort of back in. Like if we've got Liverpool defenders right, I don't really want Grealish doing too much on the other end, so probably put my foot on the Liverpool defender basket this week.
Fair enough. We'll jump over to the next game, Burnley versus Forest. What did you make of Ange Ball last week? Any concerns, temptations, anything like that? Obviously, Forest were a pretty solid defensive side in theory previously. Now a lot more attacking. What does that mean for us?
It's tricky to say. Obviously, it's only his second game. They are playing against Burnley, who did park the bus heavily against Liverpool last weekend. But I think with them playing attacking, this is actually a recipe for some attacking players from Forest to kind of feast here. I've got a few in, so hopefully they can put Burnley away early and really rack up some good offensive stats.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Forest obviously not great against, was it Swansea in the cup during the week with the comeback. So I'm hoping that they'll be coming out sort of breathing fire and wanting to do quite well. So I think that a couple of defenders could be a play here, like your Matt Sells in goal maybe, or maybe Nico Williams or Murillo or something like that. And I think Gibbs White is a good play here as well. I like the look of him. I think that he could maybe respond in a big way here and put up maybe some good points.
Yeah, I'm big on, I think, Anderson and Gibbs White this game. One other player that I probably would be big on is Zinchenko, but he's still listed as an Arsenal, linked to Arsenal in GameDay squad, so we can't play him, unfortunately. But yeah, any Burnley standouts? Anyone tempting?
Not for me. Dubravka would probably be the only one if you think they can keep a clean sheet, I think.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I've got him. We'll jump to the top 5 keeper options. I just see this being a game where maybe he'll, even if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, he'll get a few opportunities to make up some points elsewhere. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, game 3 for the round is going to be Brighton and Spurs. Now, Brighton, a few decent midfield options, and it looks like Tottenham kind of do actually give up some points in the midfield there. For those who haven't seen the show before, these tables with the points are the variation from the average player can make against this side. So, and I've filtered it out to only be if they play 60 minutes, just because if your player doesn't play 60 minutes, then it's kind of pointless looking at the stats, in my opinion. So we should be aiming for the 60 minutes plus, and that's kind of where the averages will fall. Now, I don't mind Matoma, but I don't think there's a spot for them. What I do like, though, is this Spurs midfield. Kudus especially. Thoughts?
You go, Bowes.
Yeah, I think that Kudus is certainly one that you can have a look at. It's been interesting that obviously he hasn't. I think a lot of people in pre-season would think he's obviously going to get off to a flying start. And he's been okay, but I guess we probably wanted a few more points to him. I don't know. Is Cherry Simons in pack yet for us in GameDay squad? I'm not sure if he is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
updated. Yeah.
He
so
is,
obviously quite rare. I feel like he could be the real pod that you could go for in a matchup like this. So I think he came on and already got an assist already in not too long. So I think that he could be someone that's a bit of a sneaky play if you managed to pack one. But if you don't, I think, well, we know Brighton can give their opposition opportunities, and one of those of Kudus or Simons can maybe sort of bag you some points this week.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of this game because obviously Spurs have started really well under Frank, and Brighton have just sort of been average to start the season. I think they're 1 win, 1 draw, 2 losses. But I noticed having a look earlier this week that Brighton are heavily underperforming their XG. So I think their goal scored is like 2 or 3 under their XG. And Spurs is sort of the opposite, where I think they're 2 or 3 over the 2 or 3 under the goals that they've actually scored. So Brighton being tricky at home, even though Spurs have started much better, I think will try and make it hard for Spurs to break through a little bit. I think they'd be happy with a draw, which makes me think, I don't know which way I want to play this one.
Yeah, I like a couple of the Spurs defense, but I'm a bit nervous in terms of rotations at this point. Particularly Porro probably is the one I'm looking for, but then I'm nervous he's not going to play at least 60 minutes. And I do have Kudus in at the moment just because I think there could be some goals here, but who knows? Jump through to the next one. We've got West Ham, Crystal Palace. Now, obviously, Crystal Palace defense has been a pretty tasty option for most of the season, just through their cleaning up all these defensive contribution points, as well as, being pretty solid defensively. How many Crystal Palace defenders is too many, would you say?
I think between the defenders and the keeper, I'd say 3 is probably your max.
Okay. Yeah, and for those 3, who would you be leaning towards if you had to?
I think for me, I'd be looking at Henderson, keep a clean sheet ideally, and then Lacroix as their sort of main offensive kind of centre half, and then Munoz, obviously with his, attacking. He's essentially playing as a winger. I know he's a wing back, but, he's been so far forward and, getting assists, crossing in and all that sort of stuff. Like, he's just a dangerous player to have. So I think those would be the 3 for me.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Yeah, as well. They're probably the main ones at the moment. I currently don't have any Palace defenders, but I'm still working through my defence at the moment, and I dare say that at least Henderson will come in for me as the keeper, just because I don't love a lot of the keeper options this week, and I'll probably fit in one on the bench in terms of Palace defender. Not sure if that'll be Lacroix or Munoz yet.
Mm-hmm. And what about West Ham? They've probably been someone we haven't picked too many players from. Paqueta, maybe Bowen, but anyone that you would take a punt on this week, or the Palace matchup just not worth it?
No, I don't think in the form that they're in, I want to be picking any of them. But that said, I'm pretty sure they did beat Nottingham Forest 3-0 at home 2 game weeks back. So I don't really know what to make of them. West Ham, that was frustrating. They just whip out a 3-0. If they do that again, a lot of people's weeks will be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Paqueta's the one that, if you're going to go for someone each, he's probably the one that you're looking at.
Yeah, I think so too. But then, the numbers show Crystal Palace aren't giving too much up for, we'll call him the forward. And then, there's just, I think, too many good options to find a spot for him. So we'll jump through to the next one. We have Wolves and Leeds. Now, I think historically we've always been targeting this Wolves matchup because defensively they haven't been great, giving up a lot of goals. But then now coming up against a newly promoted side, do you think that maybe some Wolves options could be more tempting this week as maybe a unique pick, or is there just no one in that lineup that even takes your fancy at all?
Yeah, I actually don't really know too much about this Wolves lineup. I feel like from last season, a lot of the players I remember seeing are just not there anymore. Obviously, they've still got Santi Bueno, Totti, and all that sort of stuff. But, these attackers, Munetzi, Arias, and Arodakare, I'm not exactly all too familiar with them. The same kind of goes for Leeds. I don't really like Calvert-Lewin as a striker. I don't think he's very good. Do you reckon you tend to agree?
Yeah, I can't really. Yeah, no, I agree for sure. There's no room for someone like that in my side. Just the game day squad scoring things don't really line up for him. So yeah, Bales.
Yeah, I agree as well. Like as Roscoe took words out of my mouth, it's like looking at the Wolves lineup. I'm like, there's a lot of names there that I don't recognise too much and know too much about, and I don't want to take risks on players in my game day squad lineup where I don't know much about the player. Like I want to know about the player and go, okay, they can do this, this, or this, and give me some points. Whereas I wouldn't be shocked if one of the Wolves attackers end up doing quite well, but just who's it going to be, right? And if you don't really know, I think you're probably better off looking at another option you're a bit more confident in.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of leads, though, I know that Zonald last week was big on Stack, who could be quite a decent, like, attacking contribution kind of player. Coming up against Wolves could be a decent option again, but I can see Zonald's in the chat there. Are you tempted to double down on your call last week, or have you given up on that? We'll find out later, but we'll jump through to the next one. We'll smash through these lineups, and then we'll probably go into the more relevant, top fives for each position, so we can kind of see who we should be targeting. Man United versus Chelsea. This is probably one of the bigger games, but it also scares me a little bit in terms of who to pick out of it. I guess, first of all, what kind of scoreline are you guys thinking for this one?
Well, as a Man United fan, I'm very nervous. We've been shocking for a long time. It could get nasty with the way that Chelsea play and their attacking prowess. I think Cole Palmer's an absolute lock. He's looked brilliant since coming back from that very, very, very late out. That I remember seeing the notifications was a couple of weeks ago when he was injured in the warm-up, and I didn't even have time to change, and I was still up at the time, could you believe? And I didn't even get time to change my lineup. So I think he's got to be in there, and I think João Pedro as well is also obviously in great form and is looking great as well. So I think that Chelsea are probably the ones you're more confident in. I was a bit shocked when I saw Cucurella on the bench last week and didn't start, but I think that he obviously is great, another great option in defence as well. Probably a little bit more potty than I guess a lot of other options, but I think they're probably the three I'm looking at. But Man United, it's like I'd love to put Bruno in, I'd love to put Cunha in back from injury, I'd love to put a few of these options in, but I'm like, you don't know really what you're going to get from Man United. So like Roscoe, Mark, I don't know what you boys think, but Man United assets I'm probably out, maybe besides Bruno. Bruno's probably the only one I may start.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Bales, for sure. Bruno, he's sort of one of those players that's fixture proof. Like he's on set pieces, he's on penalties. Whenever Manchester United score, even if they win or lose, he gets a lot of defensive contributions and he's generally involved in the goal. So I think he is not necessarily safe, but I think there's better options. But he's a player that can just sort of rack up points without having to do too much or the team being too great. I think in terms of Chelsea, there's a lot of great options as well. Sanchez, I like a little bit, but I'm worried after, what's his name? Maresca said that they're going to consider rotating them. I know that's predicting that he's going to start, but I don't know if Jorgensen is going to start for them either. Otherwise, I think Cucurella, Caicedo, Enzo, Palmer, Neto, and João Pedro could all be worth some consideration. I don't think I'll be picking them all, but probably one from each line, perhaps.
That says a lot about Man United right there. What you're saying there. You're like, I like this option, this option, this option, this option. They're all viable. That just says a lot about Man United, I think, at the moment.
Yeah. And I think based on the numbers as well, apart from the forwards, you're looking at, oh no, that's a negative too. So they're not, based on the numbers, it's not necessarily reflective of you can pick someone from any position to play against them and score well. But I think this Chelsea lineup, they're just, there's so many good options. Cucurella, Moises. Palmer, I'm still psychologically not 100% there, even though I know that it's probably fine. The other thing is I don't have the best cards for him, so I won't be starting him this week and praying that he has an off week, even if he plays just a no scoring involvement kind of week. But yeah, Pedro I think is a must start, and I can see, unfortunately for you, Bales, maybe a few goals there.
You say unfortunately, right? But for the last few years, I've been just watching United going like, it's just quite funny. So what was it been? Honestly can't remember when Sir Alex was last there. 2013, 12 years. Mm-hmm. Same thing, really. Manager goes well for a couple of games and they go bad. They get sacked. A new one comes in. So I think they're just in that transition where it's probably almost inevitable at the moment. And I think Chelsea will prey on that this week.
Yeah, for sure. So moving through to the next one, Fulham Brentford. I backed Leno in last week and he rewarded me with I think he scored like 18 to 20 points or something, which was great. I think I'm going to do it again in some of my bigger comps, just because, Brentford, they tend to give up positive scores to keepers, which is nice. Seems like he's doing good, aerially. He's, racking up points there. Is he someone that you guys would consider, or is he just one of those kind of middle tier kind of keepers that maybe you'd stick away from unless they had a perfect matchup?
No, I definitely rate Leno as a keeper. I just think there's better options this week when we get to the top fives. I'll be curious to see your rankings. For me, I think he might be an emergency in one or two of my formats, but I won't be starting him, I don't think.
Yeah, no, fair. And anyone else in that Fulham side, though? I don't mind Sam Kevin, who's come in, new signing, played a bit of time off the bench, I think, last round. And he looks like if he gets some full minutes in a game where they can kind of maybe get some goals, he could be a decent unique pick. Have you guys seen much of him or had any thoughts on him?
No, I haven't. I think Anderson could be the other one from a Fulham perspective. Obviously, he's a bit of an aerial threat from set pieces, corners. And I expect this game to be low scoring. I think both teams are quite defensively solid. So I think that could help him with the DEFCONs as well.
Yeah, nice. What about that Brentford lineup? Just trying to see if there's any names in there that are going to tempt me this week. Probably not too much. Like Vandenberg, maybe against Fulham. Potentially could be a decent pick, but Bales, anyone?
No, this is probably one of the games. Yeah, not too many names that I'll probably be considering, unfortunately.
Yeah, so not getting up at 5 a.m. for this one then, Bales, I assume?
Nah, probably not at the moment. Not at this stage.
Oh, no, we'll move on then, because I think you're both right. Next up, Sunderland, Aston Villa. Now, this is a game that I think is going to catch some people out, because I feel like Aston Villa should be scoring more points than they currently are. And they're coming up against newly promoted side. Yes, Sunderland have been, good enough to kind of hold teams at bay, but I'm so tempted to start Watkins this week. Has that crossed either of your mind, Roscoe?
No, not at the moment.
Well, no. It hasn't only just crossed my mind. He's currently sitting in my lineup in my main classic side. Villa haven't scored in the league yet, or something like that. Is that right? They haven't scored yet.
Yeah, they haven't.
Yeah, so it's surely this is the week. Surely, and the thing is, if Villa are going to score, it's going to be through one of a Watkins or a Rodgers. So I think both are viable starters. Like, I'm looking at my forwards. You got a main couple, and then I've got one other spot that I want to go for, and I've got Watkins there at the moment. So I'm backing him in. I think he's a good enough player to put some goals here, and Sunderland obviously being at home makes it a little bit tricky. If it was at home, I'd be even more confident. But being away from home, there's a little bit about banana skin about this matchup for Aston Villa, but surely Villa just get it done, and Watkins gets on the score sheet, and Villa actually get their goal scoring underway for the season, because it's been a few weeks without any goals. So I think Watkins is a good option, even though the numbers don't sort of back it up.
Yeah. And he could potentially be a pod, even though he's probably one of, like, early on in the season, he would have been one of the probably target forwards for a lot of people, but then the forms just let him down. Aston Villa, it doesn't so much seem like a Watkins issue for me. It's more of an Aston Villa kind of issue. So if they can sort that out, then the goals should come. Another one in this game for Villa that I like is Elliott coming into the new side. I think you said that Rodgers and Watkins are the likely goal source. I think Elliott's going to be feeding that. So I currently have him in my side as a bit of a pod. Any temptation from you guys? Any thoughts, or do you just see the Aston Villa lineup or tab on your team and just ignore it?
Now, I'm going to throw out the interesting alternative perspective here. I've got one player from this game in my lineup, and it's Sunderland's keeper, Rose.
Yeah, okay.
I actually think Sunderland will take this game. I think they've looked apart. They've made some good sound signings, and I think they'll win it 1 or 2-0.
Yeah. Don't mind that. And looking at those numbers as well, that plus 10.7 to goalkeepers on average is in a game where they're scoring 10 points and like as an average score, to get them to plus 10 on top of that is obscene. So I really like that shout. What about like a Xhaka or something in the midfield then? If you think there's going to be a Sunderland win here, do you start looking at some of those players up front?
I don't think I'm brave enough to go that far.
Yeah, okay.
If Lafie was playing, I'd consider him, I think. But him and Ballard, I think, will both be back from injury, possibly off the bench this weekend. So I don't think that makes either of them an option.
Yeah. That's fair. All right. Oh, one other, sorry, I'm changing slides, but every week I just really want to play Matty Cash. I think that once Villa starts scoring goals, I think Matty Cash will be a genuine starting option. So I kind of want to jump the gun early and try and catch it, but
he's currently sitting in my classic side for me at the moment. But that was, I did this team a few days ago, and looking at the matchups, I think I'll probably put a Palace defender in there instead. So probably won't survive the cut when I make the changes, but he's someone I have considered.
Just remember, you need to start playing some pods if you want to make up those numbers, though, Bales. So, Bournemouth, Newcastle. So, I think Newcastle forwards, midfields for me is where it's probably at in this game. But obviously, there's some big names in Bournemouth that have been performing well above probably where they should be, like Semenyo. Evan Nilsson's been pretty good as well. Who have you got in this? So Bales, I guess. Who have you got playing here?
Yeah. So I've got Semenyo in. I think my couple of my squads in starter and contender don't have any sort of the high rarity ones to put him in classic. Unfortunately, that's why Watkins currently sits in there. But Semenyo's been amazing to start the season. He's been very, very good, and Evan Nilsson's also been pretty good last couple of weeks. So I think they're two that you can definitely look at. But yeah, Newcastle, obviously, Walt Maid was good to see him get off the mark. So he could be a bit of a sneaky sort of pod that sort of newer to the game, and maybe not a lot of people have got their hands on him yet or don't have him. So he could be one there, like looking at the matchup against Bournemouth. So he's one. And yeah, like Bruno Guimaraes, I've sort of been wondering when the game's going to come that he's going to maybe score a goal and maybe get an assist and have one of those sort of pop games. And this could be that matchup. But I don't know if I'd be brave enough at the moment to start him over a couple of other options.
Yeah, I kind of like the other options feel like they've got a higher floor than Bruno, but he, like, he'll just keep, 2 goals, 2 assists in a game out of nowhere and then bang. I actually have Waldemate in my side this week because I've managed to snag a card, and I'm thinking that could get me ahead of a bunch of punters, hopefully. What about you, Roscoe? Any big names in this one for you?
Yeah, I have a few. I have Semenyo up front, but then I'm also starting Livramento in my defense. I know Zonald was very keen on him as well. I think he doesn't necessarily need Newcastle to keep a clean sheet to get a decent score. So yeah, I think Mr. Fixture Proof, Semenyo, and Livramento will be the way that I go. I'm very interested to see if Lewis Hall does indeed start at left back, because I know Trippier was a top scorer last round, sort of playing on the right, and Lewis Hall coming in means obviously he would be benched. Livramento onto the right-hand side and Hall on the left. I have a platinum Lewis Hall, so if he ends up being nailed, he's definitely one that I'm also keen to start in, a lot of easier fixtures as well.
Yeah. Nice. Now, a few weeks ago, I was big on Barnes. Played him because he had a great matchup, and then he had an absolute stinker off the bench. I kind of want to play him again, though. Can someone talk me out of it, please?
Well, no, he's playing forward for Newcastle, who are a strong offensive side. Is he a forward in GameDay squad? Or is he a midfielder?
No, he's a midfielder. He's a midfielder in the game.
That does make it a little bit trickier, perhaps, I think.
Although,
I'm not sure.
I'll keep him out, but it's one of those ones where I won't play him, but in the back of my head, I'll be like, I should have played him. And then when he does go big, I'll just be mad at myself.
He's one of those ones that, like, as you say, for you'll probably look at the end of the week and he's probably scored a goal and got an assist, and you're like, should have played it. I feel like for all of us, there's like one or two of those players each week. They're like, I had them in, I thought about it, and then they did well, and then like you put someone else in, they didn't do as good. But that's fantasy, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, this is probably the big game of the round. It is the big game of the round. Arsenal City. How much do you think a big game like this affects our ability to pick fantasy players? Because 50% is probably the player, 50% isn't. Well, maybe not 50%, but 50% is the matchup as well. In a game where you've got stars like Haaland, anyone basically in this game for these two teams, how do you think coming up against a strong side is going to impact their scoring? I've asked that question very poorly, but I think you get the gist.
Yeah, look, I think depending on which team you sort of favour, perhaps to have an edge in this game, I think could be the way you play. If you like Arsenal, I think you could probably have a look at Raya, Timber, maybe Gyökeres up front as well. I think he'll be a good goal source for them throughout the season. Whereas if you like City more, I think you can go with Donnarumma, Gvardiol, Foden, Haaland, I think is your main sort of options across the game. For me, I've got only Haaland at the moment. I think he's obviously been in elite goal scoring form. And I think if City are to win, he's the one that has to score. So I like him, although him and Salah are two cards where you don't play him and they haul, you miss out, or you play them and they don't haul, then you miss out as well. So I'm tempted by some of these perhaps safer options, like, your Mateta against West Ham over perhaps a Haaland, although I think I'll keep him in there for now.
Yeah. Bales?
Yeah, no, I feel like Haaland and Salah are the two that I probably just lock away each week, just on the chance that they're more likely to hurt you than not. So I've still got Haaland in there, but outside of that, I feel like I'm almost too like this game's going to be great, and I'll be watching. But I feel like this game's almost too good in terms of the players. I don't feel confidence that either way. Like it could go either way. Like I'd be leaning slightly towards Arsenal, but this could be a game where it's like a 1-1 and maybe some players off the bench maybe come on and score, and we don't get a huge amount of points from players that are starting. I don't have a huge amount of players in this game. I think I've only got Haaland, I believe, in Classic. So it's I'm a bit nervous about this matchup, but there's plenty of options if it goes one way or the other that could easily net you points. It just if you pick the right way, it might go your way or it might not.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning the other way a little bit in this one. In that, well, I mean, I don't have any players from this game, so I'm not starting Haaland this week. My rationale is that I'm playing Haaland to get me 2-3 goals, right? Because the other fours I'm playing probably to get 1 goal. So I don't see Haaland scoring 2 to 3 goals in this game. He might score, but I don't see him scoring a bag. So if I can bring in a player that is more likely to score goals in a better matchup, I think I can make some points ahead of those people who play Haaland and then maybe he doesn't score.
And if I'm not mistaken, sorry, Mark. I was just going to say, if I'm not mistaken, Saliba and Gabriel have had a pretty good record against Haaland. I don't think he's actually had many big games against Arsenal just because their bigger size matches up quite well to Haaland. So I don't know if I'm just pulling that so that it's thin air, or if that's the thing, but I swear I heard that on one of the FPL pods that I've listened to recently.
Yeah. So I think if I can bring in someone like I don't know who, but if Haaland scores 1 goal, I'm not going to be too far behind everyone else. But if he doesn't score, then I might kind of get a little bit ahead of people who've selected him without kind of looking into it too much. That's kind of my thinking. I can guarantee it's probably going to change by the time lockout comes around. But yeah, at this point, I have no one from this game. So probably means that because it's, I think, the last game of the round, I might be sitting higher up on the leaderboard and then have a nervous kind of wait for everyone else to have their last game come in. But that wraps up all of the games for the round. We're now just going to jump into our top 5s for each position. So myself and Zonald have put together our top 5s like we do every week. And then we've also got Fantasy Bros who have been kind enough to send in their cumulative top 5 list this week. They were going to jump on the show, but then unfortunately, because they've got the NRL prize draft tomorrow, I think it is, and a lot on their plate, they couldn't just make it work. But they were still kind enough to send this in. So we've got our top 5 keepers. Everyone's sticking with Henderson as their number 1 keeper. Thoughts?
No, I like it. I think he'll be in there as well for me.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Moving down the list, we won't go through everyone because it's kind of, they're pretty similar lists, just the order's slightly different. But is there anyone that stands out as a bit of a pod or someone who's maybe missing for you guys?
I think obviously Raya is interesting. I know probably Zonald likes Arsenal, but he could, if Haaland or Manchester City score a couple on them, do nothing at all. I think there's a few safer options.
Yeah, I think Allison's the one for me that probably I like at the moment. Like, he obviously is in the list there, but a little bit sort of down towards the sort of bottom part of the 5. But he's one that against Everton, being at home for Liverpool, probably good chance that they get that clean sheet being at home, that I might back him in. But Rose is obviously the one that could be that pod that obviously, Mark, you've got there at number 2. And I know, Roscoe, you said you've got him in your side as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll get off mute.
I was like, was that my computer? I was like, I wasn't sure if it was me, but yep.
That's me. So we'll jump into the defenders now. Pretty similar list again, all featuring virtually the same sides, 2 to 3 Crystal Palace defenders, Virgil van Dijk. And then that last spot's a little bit different. I've gone Livramento, Zonald's gone Gabriel, and Fantasy Bros have gone Ballard, which I like the call if he plays a full game.
Yeah. Labrie, their manager, did say, I believe I read this morning, that he will play. I don't know what extent he'll play, though.
Yeah, cool. No, I think based on the Aston Villa matchup for him, if he plays, there's points there to be made, especially because we know that he can make big points when he's playing. Any guys on here that you don't think should be? Actually, I guess we've talked through all the teams and all these names kind of showed up. Anyone that you would put in your top 5 that we haven't yet?
I was saying before in the Liverpool game, I do like Kirkes for a bounce back. So he's probably someone I've got at the moment that's not in the top 5s there. So he's probably one. But whether I want to go Allison and Van Dijk and Kirkes, I'm not sure. It's putting a lot of eggs in a clean sheet for one team. So maybe I'll just go, if it's Allison and Van Dijk or Kirkes and Van Dijk, go different keeper. So I'm probably just working through that. But Kirkes is someone that I've had a lot of think about this week.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I think for me, probably the other one is Mark Cucurella. Obviously against United, hopefully he could get an offensive contribution. Chelsea do well defensively against them. I think he could score pretty well as well.
Yeah, nice one. All right, midfield wise, again, the lists were similar, just different orders. One that Zonald's hot on that we didn't have in our top 5, but I do like is Gibbs White. I think we talked about him earlier. Could be a big game for them. All got Palmer in there at different spots. I think Kudus all got there. I've got Elliott down at my number 5, which is potentially more of a punt than a recommendation. But with the midfield, obviously, there's a lot more variation in players that we can pick. Who do you guys like, not like in these lists? See, Xhaka's on number 5 for the Fantasy Bros as well, which is pretty brave, eh?
Yeah, I rate it. No, these are pretty similar to what I have here. I've got Gibbs White, I've got Palmer, I've got Anderson. So I actually like these lists, and obviously Elliott, Xhaka as pods, I think are good options. And it might make me reconsider whether I fit Kudus in there as well.
Yeah. So with saying that you have them on your list as well, how much do you think we need to then break away from these lists to actually kind of make up some points? Because if we all have these players on our list and we all pick them, then we don't get ahead of anyone. Is there for each week, do you have a set number of locks and then you'll leave a couple of spots for pods, or do you just kind of pick each week based on who you think will do best?
Well, to be honest, last week I sort of just picked based off the fixtures a little bit, found a few that I like to play regardless of the fixture. And then, I try to target defenders who I thought the teams would keep a clean sheet, and that did pretty well for me. So I think I'll probably stick to that again, obviously going with, your Chelseas, your Palaces, Nottingham Forest, that sort of thing. I think it can bring good success. And obviously we have different rarities of different cards as well. So some people might try and load up on plats and then go only silvers, whereas some might spread it out across the golds. So there's still a bit of variation, I think.
Yeah.
The one that I've got, sorry.
No, you go. I was just saying this is a new term which I haven't heard, but I really like. That's where the salary pod comes into play.
Yeah, and that's there's some players that I'll have a high salary on that I might not be as confident, but I'll end up playing them, which I know in Classic, one name that isn't in top of our list, and he would have been probably pre-season. Is this the week that Florian Wirtz gets off the mark with an assist or a goal? I've had a feeling for a couple of weeks that he's not far away. I feel like this could be the game, and I've got him in my Classic side as a bit of a pod in the midfield to hopefully get something from him there. Either you guys think that he could get off the mark in this matchup?
I could absolutely see
last week.
Sorry, you go.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I had that same feeling that you're having now, Bales, last week, and it hurt me a little bit in terms of scoring. So I'm now in the mentality of I'm going to wait till I see it before I pick him. But yeah, Roscoe.
Yeah. No, I think I can see it. He was quite good in midweek against Atletico, and he should start again. And obviously, he's playing attacking midfield, so he's hoping.
Yeah, I mean, he's a player that I feel like we can all see will be probably a definite consideration by the end of the season. It's just finding his feet, kind of getting into that position where he's not going to let us down. All right, forwards. Consistent across the top there with Pedro. Sorry, Bales. Other than that, though, only one of us has Haaland in our top 5.
That's the first thing I saw. Yeah, I was going to say that's one Haaland. There's the one, I reckon.
Yeah. In that, I think for me, I see the other guys scoring goals more likely than Haaland does. Not because of the player, but because of the players he's playing against.
You're starting to talk me into. You're starting to talk me into it, Mark. I might have to bloody think about this. I had Haaland locked in, but you're making me sort of think about this and go, okay, maybe there is a play. Maybe I'll put someone else in instead.
Yeah, I've literally only said any squads about probably 2 hours ago because the first player I went to put in was Haaland, and then I was like, oh, do I want to do this? And then I just got decision paralysis, and then I just like, oh no, I can't do this. So I'm committing to him being out for now. So that's the worst commitment ever. But yeah, anyone else on here? Few people, so myself and Fantasy Bros, kind of liking Wood, but not in the top end of the list. Yeah.
I'm actually missing João Pedro in my side at the moment. I know I did a big spiel about Chelsea and how much I like some of their players, but I don't have him in. I actually went for Chris Wood, although all this talk with Salah and Haaland is making me think maybe I just swap them out and go for Pedro and Mateta, which would be risky, but, I don't know. A small part of me wants to take Wood out as well because we weren't the biggest fans of him.
Yeah. Now, I guess one question that might come up for a few people is Gakpo versus Salah as well. If you're maybe looking to start one in that fixture, who would you be looking for?
I think you still back Salah just for the whole potential. I know that Roski made that comment at the start about the whole potential. I think that's probably where you go. But again, if you're on a pod, Gatko's probably the one that you go instead there. And then the one's not on the list that I was talking about before, Watkins is the one that I think can finally get on the score sheet.
Yeah. And I've actually got Waldmed quite high on my list as well, purely for the matchup. And I guess we've seen that he has been able to score goals in the Premier League. So, yeah, lovely. That wraps up our 5s. Next, we're going to jump into the, I think it's, the 5-a-side challenge that Zonald and myself have been doing each week. So I don't know if you guys have seen this, but each week, the two of us pick 5 players, and we just compete score-wise against each other at base value, so no multipliers on them. We can't pick the same player more than once in a season, though. So we have to be very careful about this. And then the loser of the previous week blacklists a player from selection for the next, for the other player for the next week, just to kind of hopefully balance it out a little bit. These are our 2 sides. So on the left, I've gone Roy Zinchenko, who I'm big on this week, but I think I mentioned before, don't pick him because he's not linked properly to Forest. Muniz, Kudus, and Waltermaid. Zonald has gone Darlow, Richards, Gibb White, Pedro, Watkins. Pedro was the player that I wasn't allowed to pick this week, which probably will hurt me. So, just looking at those lists, who are you backing at this point?
I think I might take the Zonal. Sorry.
That's fine.
Very close. I think, having the 2 strikers this week, it could be the difference. If Sunderland keep that clean sheet against Villa, you'll probably win. But if Watkins scores, I think Zonal might have you covered. It'll be a bit of a big turnaround.
Yeah.
It's probably where I slightly lean to as well, just because I do think Watkins will score this week, but there's some good sort of uniques there. And if Kudus can maybe bag it, maybe if he gets a brace or something like that, that could be a big turning point as well in the matchup.
Yeah, and I've kind of got him in there more of as an assist player than a goal player for me anyway, but I mean, I'd happily take a goal. But yeah, as you can see, still pretty tight even after, a bunch of rounds. But yeah, we're very excited to see what happens. Now we're going to do the would you rather. So in the chat, in Instagram, X, put forward a question of, send us through your selection dilemmas. and we've had a bunch come through. So I'm just going to rattle them off and kind of quick fire, get some answers from you guys. First one we've got is from Mel's Misfits. We've got LaCroix versus Gay.
It's tough because they're both defenders from the same side. I think they'll actually score quite similarly, to be honest. I maybe give the edge to LaCroix. I think he might be slightly better option on corners going forward. But if Powers perform well, they're probably similar, I think.
Yeah, same thought to me as well. Yeah, I think LaCroix just, but either of them could score potentially from a corner, and that's the edge. But I'd go LaCroix just.
Yeah, beautiful. Next one we've got the goalkeeper dilemma of Royce and Vicario.
Well, I'm going to go Vicario because I think Watkins will score. That's the only thing that's swaying me to Vicario.
Yeah, I think Vicario is probably a safer pick, but I'll lean on the side of Royce, thinking that Sunderland will win. So,
yeah. Next one we've got coming through is Grealish versus Palmer.
I think
Palmer for me
takes that easily.
Yeah, Palmer, same. Purely matchup. Grealish in a good matchup, probably Grealish, but Palmer for sure. Chris Woods, Ollie Watkins. This one's probably one of the tighter ones out of the selections, I'd say.
I think I'm going to die on this hill. I'm going to go Ollie Watkins because I think he scores this week. So I'll go Watkins.
But is scoring this week enough to beat Wood? Because Wood could score this week too.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I'll back Watkins in still.
Yeah.
I've taken Wood. He's obviously scored this season already, and I'm not willing to risk Watkins yet.
The one thing I do worry about Wood is he's played a lot of football and a lot of travel in the last month. So I think international trip was a long way. Coming back, I'm on Watkins for this as well.
Sorry, what was that? Sorry, the message just popped up on my phone. Sorry, what was the question?
No, you're right. I'm on. No, same. I'm just answering the question. I'm on Watkins, Team Watkins as well.
Okay. Yes. Good. Sorry. No, just message just popped up. So apologies about that.
All good. Next one we got Palmer versus Enzo.
I think Palmer being on set pieces gives him the edge there. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yep. Same. Beautiful. Pedro versus Watkins. A lot of people thinking about Watkins, maybe hoping to be told not to pick him or something. I don't know, but basically everyone's asking about Watkins.
Yeah.
Does he tip out Pedro?
Still Pedro, I think, but I like both.
They're both on pens, aren't they? Is Watkins on pens for Aston Villa?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
yep. Yeah, I think Pedro. I mean, I think all of us had Pedro in our top fives as number one, so that kind of sells it for me. Watkins again and Mateta.
Oh, that's a tricky one.
Yeah, I think I'll lean Mateta against West Ham.
I'll keep backing in Watkins, I reckon. I'll just keep going Watkins. I'll just keep going Watkins for most. I went Pedro against Watkins, but I'll go Watkins. But again, both are really good and both are very much in the mix.
All right. And our final one that came through, and believe it or not, it also involves Watkins. It's Watkins versus Isaac.
I think Ollie Watkins will play
Watkins.
full game.
Yeah. I think purely for that. If Isaac is named, then I might consider him over Watkins, but I still don't think he plays enough minutes to kind of get him over the line for me. But yeah, that's it. Any other would you rathers that you guys are tossing up in your head that you want our opinion on?
No, these forwards are going to be the bane of me. I think I might have to honestly just watch the footy tonight and not touch the game day squad at all. Otherwise, I'm going to do something that I might regret, I think.
Yeah. No, I think
that's probably the good thing about the fact that game day squad, it is like the official format. It locks out when that first game goes, because if you
Yeah.
go into the weekend, you're like, oh, I want to put this guy in, then you do it. Whereas it's like once like 9 p.m. hits, or not 9 p.m. for me, 9:30 for most people, they go, yeah, cool, locked out, I can relax. I don't need to worry about making changes throughout the whole weekend.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys played the IPL format of GameDay
Yes.
Squad, but that absolutely wrecked me because you're staying up looking for the lineups because you had the opportunity to change them before the game.
Yeah,
At least.
I'd get caught out doing that, and I'd said to Cal, I'm just like, Cal, I much prefer the when we had like for IPL, when you had the daily slots like of the games. So it's like, cool, I just focus on the game, that's it. Whereas if you got the full slate, you're like, oh, changing and everything. So yeah.
But no, I think it's a great improvement. Just having the lockout, have the emergencies, you're set.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Now we'll wrap it up with our team reveals here. So they're quite small now that I see, but this is my side on the left, and then I've got Zonald's on the right here.
Am I seeing that right? Pedro Neto instead of João Pedro.
Oh, no, that's I've quickly picked the wrong one there, so ignore me. Thank you.
I was going to say, I was like, hang on, I'm assuming like Pedro, like they're like two different ones.
No, I've just typed in Pedro, I think, and just clicked it. So yep, thank you for that.
Maybe I shouldn't have said anything to catch up some points on you.
I like it. This team's looking strong.
Yeah, I've gone a few kind of unique-ish picks as well, I feel. And not picking Haaland, I think, counts as a unique pick. But yeah, Harvey Elliott is one that I'm a bit excited about. And then, my goalkeeper selections probably won't be the conventional ones. So hopefully I can get some points there. Zonald, who's not here to defend himself, let's tear his side apart. I can't really, though, because it's good. Any thoughts?
Yeah, it is quite strong.
Yeah, no, it is a good lineup. I guess that's very good lineup. I do like it. There's obviously no Haaland and Salah in that lineup, so it could be a make or break in terms of those forwards, I reckon.
Yeah, and one thing that I am a little bit nervous about is starting Porro just in terms of rotations. Zonald made a good point to me that he's gone Romero because he's the captain, and then less likely to be rotated through. That's something that I hadn't considered, so I might swap that out to to maybe get a bit more security.
And I could see Romero's again one of those defenders that could easily score a goal from a corner, right, as well. So there's that upside from set pieces that he might be able to nab a goal or something.
Yeah. Now, next up, I've just got here. Yeah, this is Roscoe's side here. Talk us through your thinking and talk us through what's already changed in your head since you sent me this side.
Well, there's been a few changes already. So Dewsbury Hall is gone to Gibbs White, a platinum as well. And Sanchez has gone down to a silver Henderson. So other than that, I'm pretty happy with where it sits. Although Salah, Wood, Haaland, do they become a Mateta? Do they become a João Pedro? That's probably the one thing that I'm looking to change if I changed anything. So I don't know. I might have one look at it and ask Janeth, who might be able to help me out a little bit. And whatever he says, I'll just copy him and blame him if it goes wrong.
Mate, that's what I've been doing with Zonald for years. So all season. Awesome. Now, Bales, I know that you've been kind of frantically getting your sides together. Roughly, do you have an idea of who you're picking this week? Or do you want to share your screen?
I've got this screen share there if you want to chuck it on. So this isn't obviously I did this team actually earlier in the week, so I haven't actually, because I normally go on the Saturday and finalise the teams there. But if I was to say what change I'd probably make is I think that Henderson will come in and goal for one of those two goalkeepers, and maybe Lacroix probably comes in for Matty Cash. But I think more often not from that. I think forwards I'm pretty happy with the 4, and then the midfield. You've taught me into a bit of maybe Kudus might come in for someone. So, but
that's
the pretty much the backbone of the lineup at this stage. That's the classic side as well.
Yeah, I have been pushing Kudus a fair bit. It might be a bit of bias, but I did pack his legend earlier in the week, so that's
Well, I
a
was hoping
reason
for
why.
I ended up getting a Madueke legend in the week as well, and I'm sort of going, this isn't the matchup. Really, I wanted him to play in my challenger side, but hey, he might be able to go okay. But maybe that legend Chalobah that I've got sitting there might be able to go okay for me this week
Yeah.
against my side in United.
No, I think everyone's hit. Like, the thing is with Game Day Squad, because we can make so many changes, we have so many options. There's so many different variations of good squads. So I think it would be more concerning if we picked a bad squad. Like, I think it's going to be hard to pick a bad squad. It's just the rationale behind it and where we're leaning to in terms of the value and the outcomes of the matches. So what I'll do is I'll grab the screen back, and it's come time to spin the wheel. So through the week, we've had a bit of a push for signing up to all the social channels. If you haven't done it already, please do. It makes a big difference for all of us as well. So jumping over to Instagram, it's the Game Day Society, X, the GD Society, and then YouTube, obviously, if you're watching it through me here. Otherwise, there'll be links. But you guys want to do a bit of a shout out for your socials?
Yeah, look, mine's just there at @3_man on Twitter. That's where we do most of our stuff, and then the rest is on YouTube. Supercoach Swordplay with DR. So all the Game Day Squad FPL stuff's normally on Twitter and in the Discord.
Yeah, then just at BuzzDT for mine as well, and at AFL Fantasy Fans on X, and Fantasy Fanatics on YouTube.
Beautiful. All right. Well, we'll get into it.
I know that I'm not getting anything out of spinning the wheel, but I do. There is a bit of adrenaline that goes through when spin the wheel comes up, even though I'm not on the wheel.
Now, there is, I don't know if you see, there's Bonald Zason on the board there, which I'm a bit suspicious about. But what we'll do is we will give it a spin. See, this is for a Diamond Mamouche as well, which is a huge card once everything kind of settles down for him.
Okay, maybe I was going to say maybe add my name on, but can't anymore.
Oh.
It's
Aussie.
Beautiful. Congratulations, mate. I'll flick it through to you on the Discord, but that is a huge win. Well, any final pieces of advice we've got for the viewers at home?
Nah, I think don't stress too much about your teams. I know we've done a big preview here, but back yourself in.
Yeah. Echo the spots. Don't make wholesale changes, because if you take out too many players that you want to play and then it backfires, you'll feel worse about it. Trust me, I've been there multiple times across many other fantasy sports and platforms and everything. So back yourself in and enjoy the football.
Yeah. And remember, guys, lockout is at 9:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time tonight. And the Liverpool-Everton squads will come out, what is it, 70 minutes before? Is that right now?
Yeah, I think it's 75 minutes.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
75 minutes before. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that. And, yeah, best of luck to everyone, including Zonald, who... Oh, actually, one thing that I forgot to plug is the content creator league that we've started up just for a bit of fun. So, quickly share that just to show you all. In fact, I won't, because it hasn't started yet. But basically, going forward, a bunch of the content creators, including, I believe, you're in there, aren't you, Roscoe?
Yep.
Yeah, Bales as well, you're in there. Janeth, Fantasy Bros, Zonald. I think Tom and Cal might be in there as well for... well, Tom's actually doing pretty good. But each week we'll bring it up. We'll go through who's doing well, and we'll kind of share a bit of what's going on. I know Fantasy Bros have a lot coming up, and they didn't have a chance to kind of plug it by coming on, but they've got the NRL Fantasy draft coming up tomorrow, as well as, sorry, I've got a list I'll quickly bring up because there's so much happening on their channel. They've got the preseason Big Bash content will be coming out shortly.
Oh, there we go. That's the big one.
Yeah. They're going to keep doing EPL data, trends, all that kind of stuff. And then they've also got a bit of an off-season thing that they wanted me to tease for NRL, AFL, and cricket, which I don't know what it is, but it's very exciting if it means that we can keep following those sports during the off-season. So keep an eye over on their channels. But yeah, best of luck to everyone this week, and we'll leave it there.
Yeah, beautiful. Cheers for having me on, boys. Been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Really enjoyed it.